The Book of Jonah, Chapter 1. Now the word of the Lord came to Jonah, the son of Amittai, saying, Arise and go to Nineveh, the great city, and preach in it, for the cry of her wickedness has come up to me. But Jonah rose up to flee Tarshish from the presence of the Lord. So he went down to Joppa and found a ship going to Tarshish, paid his fare, and boarded the ship to set sail with them to Tarshish, away from the presence of the Lord. But the Lord raised up a great wind upon the sea, and there came out a mighty tempest, and the ship was in danger of breaking up, and the mariners were afraid and cried out, each one to his God, and they cast out the cargo of the ship into the sea, attempting to lighten the ship. But Jonah had gone below into the hold of the ship and had gone to sleep and was snoring. The captain came to him and said, Why are you snoring? Get up and call upon your God, that your God may keep us safe so we do not perish. And each one said to his shipmate, Come, let us cast lots and find out on whose account this calamity is upon us. So they cast lots, and the lot fell upon Jonah. Then they said to him, Tell us, what is your occupation? Where do you come from, and from what country and people are you? He said to them, I am a servant of the Lord, and I worship the Lord God of heaven, who made the sea and the dry land. Then the men were exceedingly afraid and said to him, What is this that you did? For the men knew he was fleeing from the presence of the Lord, because he had told them. Then they said to him, What should we do to you that the sea will calm itself? For the sea continued to be tempestuous, and the waves rose up even higher. And Jonah said to them, Take me up and cast me into the sea, and the sea will grow calm for you. For I know this great tempest is upon you because of me. And the men tried hard to return to the land, but were unable to do so, for the sea rose and grew even more tempestuous against them. Then they cried out to the Lord and said, Please, O Lord, do not let us perish on account of this man's life, nor bring righteous blood upon us. For you, O Lord, have brought this about. So they took up Jonah and threw him into the sea, and the sea ceased from its raging, and the men feared the Lord even more. And they offered a sacrifice to the Lord and vowed vows. Jonah chapter 2. Now the Lord commanded a huge sea creature to swallow Jonah up. And Jonah was in the belly of the sea creature 3 days and 3 nights. And from the belly of the sea creature Jonah prayed to the Lord his God, saying, and said, I cried out in my affliction to the Lord my God, and he heard my voice. Out of the belly of Hades you heard the cry of my voice. You cast me into the depths of the heart of the sea, and the rivers encompassed me. All your surging waters and your waves passed over me. And I said, I have been driven away from your sight. Shall I again look with favor toward your holy temple? Water is poured over me to my soul. The lowest depth encircled me. My head plunged into the clefts of the mountains. I descended into the earth, the bars of which are everlasting barriers. Yet let my life ascend from corruption, O Lord my God. When my soul was falling from me, I remembered the Lord. May my prayer be brought to you into your holy temple. Those who follow vanity and lies forsake their own mercy, but with a voice of thanksgiving and praise, I will sacrifice to you. As much as I vowed, I shall offer up to you the Lord of deliverance. Then the Lord commanded the sea creature, and it cast up Jonah onto the dry land. Jonah chapter 3. Now the word of the Lord came to Jonah a second time, saying, Arise and go to Nineveh, the great city, and preach there according to the message I previously spoke to you. So Jonah arose and went to Nineveh, just as the Lord spoke. Nineveh was an exceedingly great city to God, a journey of about 3 days, and Jonah began to enter into the city, going a day's journey, where he proclaimed and said, Yet 3 days, and Nineveh shall be overthrown. And the men of Nineveh believed God. They proclaimed a fast and put on sackcloth, from the greatest of them to the least. Then the word came to the king of Nineveh, and he arose from his throne, removed his robe, and put on sackcloth, and sat upon ashes. And it was proclaimed and spoken in Nineveh by the king and by his great men, saying, Let not the men, cattle, oxen, or sheep taste anything, eat, or drink water. So the men and the cattle were clothed with sackcloth, and they cried out fervently to God, and they each turned back from their evil ways and from the wrongdoings of their hands, saying, Who knows if God shall have a change of heart and turn from his fierce anger, that we should not perish. And God saw their works, that they turned from their evil ways, and God had a change of heart about the evil which he said he would do to them, and he did not do it. Jonah chapter 4. But Jonah was deeply grieved and was troubled. So he prayed to the Lord and said, O Lord, where were these not my words when I was yet in my land? Therefore I saw the need to flee to Tarshish, because I knew you to be compassionate and merciful, long-suffering and abundant in mercy, and willing to change your heart concerning evils. And now, Master, Lord, take my life from me, for it is better for me to die than to live. And the Lord said to Jonah, Are you exceedingly grieved? Then Jonah went out of the city and seated himself opposite it. There he made for himself a tent and sat under its shade until he might observe what would happen to the city. And the Lord God commanded a gourd, and it came up over the head of Jonah to be a shade over his head, to shield him from his discomforts. Jonah rejoiced with great joy because of the gourd. But early the next morning God commanded a worm, and it smote the ground, and the ground withered up. And when the sun rose, God commanded a burning east wind, and the sun beat down on the head of Jonah, and he grew faint and despaired for his life. And he said, "It is better for me to die than to live." Then God said to Jonah, "Are you exceedingly grieved on the account of the gourd?" And he said, "I am exceedingly grieved, even unto death." And the Lord said, "You took pity on the gourd for which you did not labor, nor did you make it grow, which came up during the night and perished before the next night. And shall I myself not take pity upon Nineveh, the great city in which dwell more than 120,000 people who do not know either their right hand or their left, and many livestock?"